In this video, you're going to learn how to delete documents from your MongoDB collections. Before we get into that, exploring the methods that let us delete multiple documents or just one, we want to create a few more to-dos. Currently, the to-dos collection only has 2 items, and we're going to need a few more in order to play around with all these methods involving deletion. Now I do have 2. I'm going to go ahead and create a third by right-clicking down below. We'll make a new document with a text property equal to something like eat lunch. Not sure why that's going on my to-do list, but it is. And we'll set completed equal to false since I haven't eaten lunch today. Now before we save this, I am going to copy it to the clipboard. We're going to create a few duplicate to-dos so we can see how we can delete items based off of specific criteria. For this case, we're going to be deleting multiple to-dos with the same text value. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard, click save, and then I'll create 2 more with the exact same structure. There's the first one, and here is the second. Awesome. Now we have 3 to-dos that are identical except for the ID, and we have 2 that have unique text properties. With this in place, let's go ahead and move into Atom and start writing some code. I'm going to duplicate the find file, creating a brand new file called mongodb-delete.js. In here, we'll explore the methods for deleting data. I'm also going to remove all of the queries that we set up in the last video. I am going to keep the dbClose method commented out, as once again, we don't want to close the connection just yet. It's going to interfere with the statements we're about to write. Now there are 3 methods that we'll be using in order to remove data. The first one is going to be delete many. Delete many will let us target many documents and remove them. We'll be using delete one, which targets one document and removes it. And finally, my favorite, we'll be using find one and delete. Find one and delete lets you remove an individual item, and it also returns those values. Imagine I want to delete a to-do. I delete the to-do, but I also get the to-do object back, so I can tell the user exactly which one got deleted. This is a really useful method. Now we're going to start off with delete many, and we're going to target those duplicates we just created. The goal here is to delete every single to-do inside of the to-dos collection that has a text property equal to eat lunch. Currently, there are 3 out of 5 that fit that criteria. Over inside of Atom, we can go ahead and kick things off by doing db.collection. We've used this before. This is going to let us target our to-dos collection. Now we can go ahead and use the collection method, delete many, passing in the arguments. In this case, the only argument we need is our object. And this object is just like the object we passed to find. We can target our to-dos. In this case, we're going to delete every to-do where the text equals uppercase E, eat lunch. We didn't use any punctuation over here, so we're also going to avoid punctuation over in Atom. It needs to show up exactly the same. Now that we have this in place, we could go ahead and tack on a then call to do something when it either succeeds or fails. For now, we'll just add a success case. We are going to get a result argument passed back to the callback, and we can print that to the screen. Console.log result. And we'll take a look at exactly what is in this result object in just a moment. With this in place, we now have a script that deletes all to-dos where the text value is eat lunch. Let's go ahead and run it and see exactly what happens. Over inside of the terminal, I'm going to run this file. It's in the playground folder, and we just called it mongodb-delete.js. Now, when I run it, we get a lot of output. The really important piece of output, the only important piece actually, is up at the very top. If you scroll to the top, what you're going to see is this result object. We get OK set to 1, which means things did go as expected, and we get N set to 3. N is the number of records that were deleted. In this case, we had 3 to-dos that matched that criteria, so 3 to-dos were deleted. This is how you can target and delete many to-dos. Now, aside from delete many, we have delete one. And delete one works exactly the same as delete many, only it deletes the first item it sees that matches the criteria, and then it stops. To illustrate exactly how this works, we're going to create 2 items inside of our collection. If I give things a refresh, you see now we only have those 2 documents. These are the ones we started with. I'm going to insert documents again using the same data that's already in my clipboard. This time we'll just make two that are identical. The goal here is to use delete one to delete the document where the text equals eat lunch. But since we're using delete one and not delete many, one of these should stay around and one of them should go away. Back inside of Atom, we can go ahead and get started by calling db.collection with the collection name we want to target. In this case, it's to-dos again, and we're going to use delete one. Delete one takes that same criteria. We're going to target documents where text equals eat lunch. This time though, instead of deleting multiple documents, we're just going to delete the one. And we are still going to get that same exact result. To prove it, I'll just print it to the screen like we did up above. Console.log result. Excellent. With this in place, we can now rerun our script and see what happens. Over inside of the terminal, I'm going to shut down our current connection, rerun it, and what do we get? We get a similar looking object, a bunch of junk we don't really care about. But once again, if we scroll to the top, we have our result object where OK is 1 and the number of deleted documents is also 1. Even though multiple documents did pass this criteria, it only deleted the first one. And we can prove that by going over to RoboMongo, right-clicking up above, and viewing the documents again. This time around, we have 3 to-dos. We do still have one of the to-dos with the eat lunch text. And now that we know how to use these two methods, I want to take a look at my favorite. This is find one and delete. Most of the time when I'm deleting a document, I only have the ID. This means that I don't exactly know what the text is or the completed status, and that can be really useful depending on your user interface. For example, if I delete a to-do, maybe I want to show that down below, saying you deleted the to-do that says eat lunch with a little undo button in case they didn't mean to take that action. Getting the data back as well as deleting it can be a really useful thing. In order to explore find one and delete, we're going to once again target the to-do where the text equals eat lunch. I'm going to go ahead and comment out delete one, and down below we can get started by accessing the appropriate collection. The method is called find one and delete. Find one and delete takes a very similar set of arguments. The only thing we need to pass in is the query. This is going to be identical to the ones we have above. This time though, let's go ahead and target to-dos that have a completed value set to false. Now there are 2 to-dos that fit this query, but once again, we're using a find one method, which means it's only going to target that first one it sees, the one with a text of something to do. Back inside of Atom, we can get this done by targeting to-dos where completed equals false. Now, instead of getting back a result object with an OK property and an N property, the find one and delete method actually gets that document back. This means we can tack on a then call, we can get our result, and we can print it to the screen once again. Console.log result. Awesome. Now that we have this in place, let's test things out over in the terminal. Over in the terminal, I'm going to shut down the script and start it up again. This time around, what do we get? We get a few different things in our result object. We do get an OK set to 1, letting us know things went as planned. We have a last error object. We'll talk about that in just a second. And we have our value object. This is the actual document we deleted. This is why the find one and delete method is just super handy. It gets that document back as well as deleting it. Now in this particular case, the last error object once again just has our N property, and we can see the number of to-dos that were deleted. There is other information that could potentially be in the last error object, but that's only going to happen when we use other methods, so we'll look at that when the time comes. For now, when you delete a to-do, we just get the number back. With this in place, we now have 3 different ways we can target our MongoDB documents and remove them. As I mentioned, I think 3 times already, find one and delete is my personal favorite. With this in place, we're going to go ahead and go over a quick challenge to test your skills. Inside of RoboMongo, we can look at the data we have in that users collection. I'm going to open it up, highlight all the data, and expand it recursively so we can view it. We have the name Jen, we have Mike, we have Andrew, and Andrew. This is perfect data. Now yours might look a little different, but the goal is to use 2 methods. First up, look for any duplicates, anything that has a name set to the name of another document. In this case, I have 3 documents where name is Andrew. What I want to do is use delete many to target all of these documents and remove them. I also want to use find one and delete to delete another document. It doesn't matter which one. And I want you to delete it by ID. You can break this up into 2 parts. You can write both commands, then you can comment one out, run the script, make sure it works, and then swap it, commenting out the one you ran and uncommenting the other one. In the end, both statements should show their effect over inside of RoboMongo. When I'm done, I'm hoping to see these 3 documents deleted. They all have the name Andrew, and I'm hoping to see this document deleted where the name is Mike, because I'm going to target this one by ID in my find one and delete method call. Take a moment to knock this out, write these scripts, test them, and when you're done, go ahead and click play. How'd you do? Hopefully you were able to get this done without too much trouble. First up, I'm going to write my scripts, one for deleting users where the name is Andrew and one for deleting the document with this ID. In order to grab the ID, I am going to go ahead and edit it and simply grab the text inside of quotes right here. And then I can cancel the update and move into Atom. First up, we're going to go ahead and try to remove the duplicate users. And I'm going to do this using db.collection. We're going to target that users collection. And in this particular case, we're going to be using the delete many method. .delete many, just like we did above. Here, we're going to try to delete all of the users where the name property equals Andrew. Now, I could tack on a then call to check for success or errors, or I could just leave it like this, which is what I'm going to do. If you used a callback or you used the promise then method, that is perfectly fine. As long as the deletion happens, you're good to go. Next up, I'm going to write the other statement. We're going to target the users collection once again. This should be users and not user. This statement would not have worked had I used the user collection. Now we're going to go ahead and use the find one and delete method. Now in this particular case, I am going to be deleting the to do where the ID equals the object ID I have copied to the clipboard, which means I need to create a new object ID. And I also need to go ahead and pass in the value from the clipboard inside of quotes. Either single or double work. Make sure the capitalization of object ID here is identical to what you have up above. Otherwise, this creation will not happen. Now that we have the ID created and passed in as the underscore ID property, we can go ahead and tack on a then callback. Since I'm using find one and delete, I am going to print that document to the screen. Right here, I'll get my argument, results, and I'm going to print it to the screen using our pretty printing method. Console.log, JSON.stringify, passing in those 3 arguments, the results, undefined, and the spacing, which I'm going to use as 2. With this in place, we are now ready to go. Let's go ahead and comment out the find one and delete first. We'll run the delete many statement. Over in the terminal, I can shut down the current connection, start it up again, and if we go over to RoboMongo, we should see that those 3 documents were deleted. I'm going to right click up above, view the documents, and what do we get? We just get the 2 documents back. Anything where name was Andrew is now removed, which means our statement did work as expected, and this is fantastic. Next up, we can run our find one and delete statement. In this case, we're expecting that one document, the one where name equals Mike, gets removed. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I save the file. Once I did, I can move into the terminal and rerun the script. This time around, we get the document back where name is Mike. We did target the correct one, and it does appear that one item was deleted. I can always go ahead and verify this by refreshing the collection over inside of RoboMongo. And what do I get? I get my collection with just 1 document inside of it. With this in place, we are now done. We know how to delete documents from our MongoDB collections. We can delete multiple documents, we can target just 1, or we can target 1 and get its value back. Before we go, let's go ahead and make a commit, pushing it up to GitHub. Over in the terminal, I can shut down the script, and I can run git status to see what files we have untracked. Here we have our MongoDB delete file. I can add it using git add dot, then I can commit. Using git commit, with the M flag. Here I can go ahead and provide a commit message, add, delete, script. Excellent. I'm going to make that commit, and I am going to push it up to GitHub using git push, which will default to the origin remote. Now, when you only have one remote, the first one is origin. This is the default name, just like master is the default branch. With this in place, we are now done. Our code is up on GitHub. I'll see you next time as we continue looking at MongoDB methods. Next up is updating. You're going to learn how to update documents inside of a collection. Stay tuned. I will see you then.